Hey fam, I want to share with y'all my first and last experience visiting a loved one that was locked up. I'm telling y'all, that thing opened my eyes and broke my heart at the same time. But I believe that everything we do in our lives, it was necessary to teach us something and to show us something, to wake us up and open our eyes to situations that otherwise we would have never known. So I believe that the steps that we take in life and the journey that we take is meant to be. Let me tell y'all, I don't want to say whom I was visiting, but it was a loved one of mine. And I took that loved one's child to go visit them because the child's mom didn't want to go that particular time, right? And so I was asked to go. And then I said, okay, this is my first time going. And I have to admit, I know a lot of times when our loved ones get locked up, they are angry with a lot of the family members because a lot of us don't visit them. But there is a pain and a torment to those of us on the outside going to see our loved ones in there. It's hurtful to us too. And I guess those who are locked up would not feel that our hurt compares to theirs, so they probably don't understand. But it was just something that I have to admit that I was never moved to visit until I was asked to. And that might sound bad. I wrote letters, and that to me was the extent that I was able to carry off for whatever reason. Traveling there was a lot because the baby I had, she was 2, and it was a lot going in and being treated like you were a prisoner as well because they are searching you. I had some kind of extravagant hairdo. I wasn't thinking about taking my hair down. They want to go inside my hair because people bring things in all the time, razors and whatever else they bring. I don't know, drugs, whatever they bring. And so you have to be searched and they want to go under your bra and they're filling you up and patting you down. I hated it all. And I wasn't being arrested. I was just visiting. So that whole scene, it was just traumatic for me. So I can imagine those inside, I can only imagine. And I will never get the full gist, because that experience in itself is a personal one. But anyway, I get there and there's lines for everything, of course. And you feel a little weird, but it's also an excitement because you're going to see your loved one whom you hadn't seen in a long time. And so you're waiting. And I remember once the wait was over and you actually are inside and how they had it set up where there's tables and chairs everywhere. And so they brought me and the baby to the seat. So we're sitting here, like a desk is in between, and then there's another chair on that side. So as I was waiting for them to bring my loved one out, I had the opportunity to just sit and kind of look around. And at the time, the baby was asleep, laying against my chest. We were all sweaty. It was a hot summer day, honey. We were so sweaty, traveling and holding the baby in the bag. And it was a lot, but it was worth it. And as I'm sitting there waiting for them to bring him for us to see him, I just started gazing around the room and I'm like, wow. The room was huge and there was so many men, a sea of men, and they were mostly brown men. And that thing just hit me like a ton of bricks. Unbelievable. It just hit me like a ton of bricks, y'all. I started crying and couldn't control myself. I'm like, what am I crying? I started boo-hooing. And like I said, the baby was asleep. Tears just falling down. Like I couldn't control them. I was overwhelmed with emotion seeing all these beautiful black men. Okay? Women get involved with men that are locked up on the outside and in the inside. Those guards and stuff. These are beautiful men. These are fathers, grandfathers, uncles, sons, brothers. These people have importance. They are family members to those of us on the outside. They're locked up and they're trying to make the best of it because their family is coming. And I see babies and mothers and wives and girlfriends, and everybody's hugging and kissing and, so happy to see one another. And I'm looking at this whole big picture and I'm like, this is awful. It was very traumatic for me. I cried my eyes out and I kept saying, Lord, please help me control myself before my loved one, before he comes out. I'm like, because I I didn't expect to take it like that. It just came on me suddenly. Looking at all these good looking men, and I mean they were good. I have to say it. I have to say it. My eyes drank in a sea of beautiful black men. There was one or two scattered, lighter complected men, and they could have been Hispanic, or Caucasian. I couldn't tell, but the majority of the men that were there had brown skin. And that thing blew my mind. I started to think, are we the only ones committing crimes? Or are we the ones who are sought after? Because this is a big world and every race of people commit crimes. It's not just us. But looking at that, it broke my heart. These are men that are needed in our community, men who are needed in our family. And I'm not saying that they didn't deserve to be there, because if they committed crimes, then hey, you got to pay the price. You break the law, you got to pay. But there are so many men who are convicted unjustly. A lot of men are in jail that don't belong there because they did nothing, wrongly convicted. And it broke my heart thinking about that. And I'm just going to be honest with y'all. I'm thinking, first of all, when my loved one got locked up, I had a lot of nights where I was crying and praying because I'm just imagining awful things occurring first and foremost. I'm thinking of him getting into a fight and somebody cutting him, somebody raping him. I'm thinking all the worst things that they actually occur in jail, right? In prison, right? And so once your loved one is locked up, I'm trying to find the right words because I don't want to offend those of you who have actually been locked up by the words that I choose. But you have to consider your family, because once you do something wrong, it's not just you who gets affected. It's your family. People who love you are affected by the things that you do. And so I'll put it like that. Once he decided to do certain things and get himself put in there, now that has the rest of the family feeling away. We feel hurt, we feel sad, we're disappointed, of course, in him too. But then you love him on the other hand, and you don't want anything bad to happen to him. You understand that the whole prison system is set up for homosexuality. I said it. It is set up for that. Because if a man is going away for a lifetime, 50, even 10 years, 5 years, that's a long chunk, a big chunk out of a person's life to not be free to be with a woman, which is what a man should be doing, especially at the age groups that a lot of these men, a lot of them are baby making age. These are the years that they're supposed to be nurturing, providing for a family, but they're locked up. Hormones are like through the roof, but they're locked up with other men, looking at other men naked in the showers and whatnot, becoming close because you're in there together. And so because you're talking all the time, it's almost like an intimacy. And then sometimes it leads to them having a relationship. To me, that whole setup, the whole setup is conducive for homosexuality. And these are stories that our men have that we probably will never know, because some of them will never tell you. And I don't think I want to know. Some things are best kept between God and yourself. It's a horrific thing to have the person that you love locked up for a long length of time, short length of time either, because people go in and they get killed. People go in and get raped. Their manhood is taken from them. And you're kind of not the same after something like that, you know? A lot of men drink and smoke And you wonder why that's all they do. You never know what could have happened to them. And it's a hurtful thing. I mean, it just broke my heart knowing that in our communities, there are so many homes where the mom is doing everything. She's the head of household. I come to prison, I'm like, this is where all our men are. So that knowledge of knowing that our boys are killing one another, the cops are killing us, and then all these beautiful black men are locked up in a prison. That leaves us with very minimal amounts of men to choose, right? Or to be chosen by. It just broke my heart. It broke my heart. Now, I don't know what anybody else's experience was or whatever, because I just know that I had never gone back. Thank God he has been freed, and he's been freed ever since. It's been years. Bless the Lord. Bless the Lord. But I have other relatives. I have 3 cousins who are locked up. At 4. And they're going to be doing long stints. Yeah, long stints. And I keep them in my prayer all the time. Just the thought of the gruesome things that go on in there. And sometimes it seems like they're having fun, because you're seeing a lot of them have Instagram, Facebook, TV, they eating pizza, they cooking. It looks like they're having a party. But overall, what that does to somebody mentally and emotionally and spiritually is damaging. I believe that we all have these survival instincts. And so wherever you are, you're going to try to make the best of it. So you're making it look like you're having a ball. A lot of us say that. We have said that. Oh, why would they go back? And, but that habit, the habit of being in the hood and doing foolish things and trying to come up with quick fixes to increase your finances leads you going right back. And a lot of us have said, oh, they must like it in there. But I don't believe that. I can't believe a man would like to be locked up with a bunch of other men for a long length of time. I'm sure they have plenty of time to think about their mistakes. And if they could do it over, I'm sure they wouldn't. But I just wanted to share my experience and my whole take on it. And as I looked in the Bible later and discovered that we are the people of the Bible, the Israelites, right? Deuteronomy 28. When you look in there and you see the curses, and it said how the prisons would be filled with us. And I actually saw that way before I learned who we were biblically, right? The people of the Bible. Before I learned it, and I said, wow, once I learned who we were, and I'm like, Lord, you wanted me to have that experience. You wanted me to see that. The Bible alive. The Bible is real. For real prophecies. I'm like, wow, I was just blown away. And it does help increase my faith, because I'm like, this Bible is not a joke. This is not a joke. The prisons filled with our men. Men that belong in the homes, protecting and providing. The most saddest thing ever. So that's why I was so annoyed when I came across this photo. My phone is on. I came across this photo of this gentleman in jail, and somebody, well, his mugshot, and he looked like he was crying, and how people just passed it on the internet and making fun of it. I'm like, this is not funny. Everything is not funny. We make light and make a big joke out of our tragedy. And sometimes that's a part of people's survival skills, but no, everything is not a ha ha ha. This stuff is serious. Our men are locked up. And unless the men who are free right now, and if you're watching this video and you teach your son to do better, to make better choices, and be that good example, the prisons are going to get more and more crowded. Men are going in, getting killed and raped, and getting turned out in jail. We are meant to be intimate with the opposite sex. And if you're caged up with the same sex, we know what's going on in there. We know what's going on. It's almost hard to believe that it's hard to believe that the majority of them are not participating in same-sex acts. It's really hard to believe. It's crazy. I remember a good friend of mine, she passed on now. We grew up together. Her sister was my brother, one of my brother's godmother. And she and I ran into one another later on in life. We both had our children and our grandchildren and stuff, and we were talking, and we were just having conversation about life and stuff. And we were talking about a friend of hers who had gotten locked up, and he was recently released. And she was telling me how she believed he was gay now. And I said, well, why do you think that? She said, well, he did tell her that when he was locked up, he would receive oral sex from the gay men in jail. And so he did not consider himself to be gay. He considered himself just going with the flow and relieving himself because he was locked up and he didn't have access to a woman. And so that's what I'm saying. Once you participate in something like that, how do you go back? Because he did explain to her that a man does it better than a woman because his jaws are stronger. Oh, that makes me want to vomit. Just the thought of it just makes me sick. But he explained that to her. So I'm like, now you experience sex is, first of all, an addiction for a lot of people. And everybody's always looking for that higher high, like the most sensational feeling you can get. And so once you've had that, and a lot of people love oral sex, once you've had that by a man and now you're saying that it's better, you don't consider yourself gay because you're going to be searching for that same feeling again. And now you're participating in acts with another man. And I also heard about, one of my daughters told me about how a lot of guys get drunk and high and participate in sex with one another, but they do it when they're inebriated to try to act like, it's not real what I'm feeling or what we've done. We've done it because we were drunk or high. It's so much going on. To get back to the prison imprisonment thing, I really feel like that whole system, the way it's set up, is conducive for same-sex relationships. It is. Same thing with our women. I saw a documentary with young girls, and these girls are young, 15, 14, 16, talking about their girlfriend. And I'm like, what? And the things that they're doing, participating in the prison system. If you love your children, family, you will be a good example to them and teach them the ways of God and show them a path, a clean living path, so that they can be free from stuff like this. I mean, sometimes awful situations happen that I mentioned earlier. People who are innocent being locked up unjustly. But listen, the way children are not being guided properly. I'm looking at moms doing all these crazy things in the midst of their children when they're filming it. I don't see a lot of men doing this stuff. I hate to say that it's mostly women, but it's the truth. I'm seeing what I'm seeing, and on the internet, recording it. I mean, if men are doing these things, they're not recording it and making it public, but women tend to crave attention and they don't care how they get it. You are damaging your children. You are raising them to be criminal-minded. You're raising them to be sinful. You're raising them to feel like whatever they feel like doing, they can do it and there's no consequence. And this is what those prisons are filled up with. Men and little boys who grew up with no boundaries and no rule and no instruction, no direction. That's what the prisons are filled with. Hurt little boys who are misguided, growing up to become men who are locked up with other men. And then they end up participating in intimate acts with other men. I was so touched by that visit. And it's something that I could never get out of my mind. And it was years ago. How old is the baby now? Let me think. Yeah, that was about 22, 23 years ago because the child was 2 at the time. I will never forget that visit. It's something that just stayed in my heart and stayed on my mind, just looking around. And I'm like, wow. And I mean, they were some fine men. Fine. Young, strapping men that needed to be outside taking care of their children. taking care of their wives and their families. It's crazy. It is crazy. I want to know from those of you who have loved ones who are locked up, what was your experience like? If you don't mind sharing that with me, because it was devastating to me. I mean, I guess if you go a lot, it would just be something common, but it wasn't for me. It was a tragic experience to me. All right, family, I'm done. Peace, love, and blessings. Please subscribe and share and go through my other videos and check them out. I have so many topics that I discuss. I'm really all about our community, family, the Most High God, and us doing things better, man. We have to level up spiritually. It ain't about material things and foolish things of the world, but we need to level up, family. Please pray, read your word, focus on positive things. Turn off the TV. Stop listening to that horrible music. All of our music is filled with trash. Going to the club looking for love, a one night stand, drinking, getting drunk, making money. Everything is sexually explicit. And then on the flip side, everything is about negativity. They make songs about breaking up and then the ill feelings that you have after you broke up, what you feel like doing to the person. And this news thing that's out that everybody's dancing to, F my ex, you could keep that in. I'm like, wow, it's amazing. There's nothing positive in the music. And I hate that we're the ones making it. We're the ones making that negative crap, putting that filth out there, and people condone it. We got to do better, family. Peace, love, and blessings.